Barry Trotz is trying to thread the now and not yet needle for the Nashville Predators. On today's show, we will debate how likely this strategy is to succeed and what the signs will be that it is time to focus strictly on the future.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is the best day of the week, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks so much for making us your first listen of the day. We are, of course, your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We are a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off this glorious Thursday, giving a hearty shout out to our Locked On Predators insiders and to our everydayers who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us. I'm Ann Kimmel. I am a writer and co-host with Penalty Box Radio and Friends. I have a partner in crime.
You do. I'm Emma Lingan, and I'm the Predators site editor and reporter for the Hockey News.
Well, it's something that we have been talking about for a while now. Since Barry Trotz took over as the general manager, he has a plan, he has a path, and he's hoping to see the Nashville Predators have success now, while also focusing on the not yet for the Nashville Predators. Today, we are going to wrestle with the existential crisis. Can you have your hockey cake and eat it too? We're going to hear from Barry Trotz on the path, on the plan. And then Emma and I are going to debate whether it's likely we see this come to fruition, what the signs are when it's time to call it, and what the X factor in it all may be. So a lot to get to today, Emma. We're like going way off in the existential jingweeds here with this because, you know, we talk about it a lot on the show about kind of this now and not yet that Barry Trotz is looking at. The plan. The plan is in pen. The path is in pencil. What does that really mean? And when do we change some things? So we're going to try to wrestle with this. We're going to try to put it into perspective, and then we're going to tell you how likely we are that this is going to work, Emma. It'll be interesting to see where we land with this because it's very hard to nail anything down about the Predators right now. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Even Barry Trotz has his work cut out for him right now. Oh, my goodness. We're going to go right to Barry Trotz. So at the end of the season, Barry Trotz sat down, of course, with the media and talked about a number of things after the season that was 84 years long. But he also talked about, hey, look, we are still talking about this plan. We are still on this path. So this is what Barry Trotz had to say. And then Emma and I are going to give you the Cliff Notes, Spark Notes version of what we're talking about. Here's Barry Trotz.
You wanted to be to thread the needle, if you will, bring in accomplished veterans that we could mix in with our younger talent. We worked really hard to acquire those players, and that plan still is in place. That hasn't changed. That's the one part that hasn't changed. The path has changed, but our plan hasn't. The path is, our timeline has been moved up, if you will. Our hope was to add a piece or two if we were in that playoff mix. Obviously, we weren't, so we were not. So we moved up our timeline with some of our younger players. We were expecting to have pain along this path. Everybody says, hey, we've got to do this. We haven't had too many high draft choices. It's time. And we're trying to thread the needle, doing what Washington was able to pull off this last year and a half or whatever.
I love how he talks about, we all knew that there would be pain along the path. Well, Barry, we've had some pain like last season. Yeah.
We did know that, but let's also not pretend like any of us thought it was going to be this bad.
Right. I can't amen that in my heart enough. Nobody was prepared, you all. Nobody. Even the most pessimistic hockey person was not prepared for what happened in Nashville. So when Barry Trotz talks about the plan, bringing in veterans alongside these young players to help them develop, and then he talks about the path. The path is the timeline, Emma. How realistic is this really?
I mean, it's realistic in the sense that it can be done, because Washington did it and other
Mhm.
teams have done it. So it can be done. Now, if we're talking about how realistic is it that the Predators do it, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know. I thought I was more confident, obviously, before this season, than I am now that they can do it. And I think like it can happen, but so many things have to go right. And a lot of those things aren't going to be under their control. Like sometimes it's just things like, I mean, even if you look at Washington, like a lot of the players that they added, they weren't like superstars. It's not like they went out and got Mikko Rantanen, they got some like high upside guys that they were kind of hoping would hit,
Mhm.
and they all did. And that's great. Like that worked out really well, but it's not always going to happen that way. So I just think there's so many factors at play and so many things that can go wrong and will go wrong, and I just don't know that Nashville has proven the ability to navigate that yet.
Right. What happened to Washington is the inverse of what happened to Nashville. Nashville brought in these players. When you look at what the plan is, signing a Steven Stamkos and a Jonathan Marchessault and a Brady Shea, that makes sense on paper for the plan. Those are the kind of veterans that you want to bring in. You believe that's going to add significant scoring. You believe that that's going to add experience in leadership in the locker room. You believe that that is going to help develop these younger players. That is the opposite of what happened. Here is what I will say, and I'm trying not to be the eternal optimist because I will die if we have another season like we had last year. My little optimist heart will be crushed. It could still happen, but literally everything that you needed to come from those signings according to the plan did not come to fruition. You did not get quality scoring. You did not get the kind of offensive production that you wanted to get. You did not get well meshed leadership in the locker room. You did not get those guys playing with and developing young players early on in the season. Those things could still potentially happen next season, but it's very hard to say we're going to bank on that after how bad this season went. Um, so it's very hard to say it can still happen. But I also think you have to be careful not to say this is absolutely an abject failure and the Predators have got to sell off and rebuild and pivot completely right now. That time may come. The time may come where the Nashville Predators have to pivot. I'm not even saying they're going to have to pivot to like a hard rebuild, but they are going to have to pivot away from this. Hey, maybe we can put something together now, because none of this happens in a vacuum. And we talked about this on yesterday's show. We talked about you are in the Central Division. You have now teams that are in the Central Division. Dallas is a now team. Winnipeg is a now team. Colorado is pretty much a now team. And that's not going to change no matter what Nashville does. So some of this can't happen in a vacuum. Like it in this particular time and space, the now window is going to be pretty challenging for Nashville. And I think that's something that you have to just be honest about if you're Barry Trotz.
Yeah, and I mean it's a fine line too, because I agree with you. After one horrid season, you can't just be like, "Well, scrap it. It's done." Like blow it up. But I think that you it is like a delicate balance trying to find the line of like, okay, when do you say that? I
Mm-hmm.
don't know that we'll necessarily know the answer to that. It's one of those things like you'll know it when you see it kind of thing, but I don't really know.
Yeah. Coming up, we're going to talk about those hurdles in the way of making this happen for Nashville in the immediate future. We're also going to talk about an X factor in all of this. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Wonderful Pistachios. If you are looking for that snack that is both delicious and nutritious, I want to encourage you to crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein. That's going to give you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they are packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats. That's going to help keep you feeling fuller longer. I personally am a no shells variety kind of girl. It is the perfect grab and go snack, whether I am sitting at my desk working or in my car running errands, or whether I just hit that point in the afternoon where I know I need a quick protein boost. It is a great go-to. But if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. All right, Emma, Barry Trotz is talking about the plan. The plan is to bring in some veterans alongside some young players and potentially open up a window where the Nashville Predators can be a team in a contention conversation. Friends, there's some hurdles to making that happen. We talked about one. We talked about the Central Division. Like, if this were any other division, even after the abomination that was last season, I would still be like, so you're saying there's a chance. But again, the Central Division. Why? We're not even Central, you all. Like, come on.
Just put us in the East. It makes more sense.
Hockey geography is bad. Who went to school and divided up this NHL? Who did that?
Like, I'm no cartographer, but if you look at the map, it just doesn't make sense. Even like the teams in the East, it's like the Atlantic Division is everything in the like far northeast corner, and then Florida. Like completely skips everything in between.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I'm just, I'm getting older and I'm tired and I like the 6:00 start times. So
It is brutal in the Central Division. Like, that is a valid logistical why you doing that to us in the Central Division. 9 p.m. start times. Who do you think I am? Luke Evangelista? I am not. I can't keep those late hours.
No.
It's brutal. So yeah, that's a whole nother podcast for another day. We could rant on that, I feel like, for a really long time.
Take notes, Gary Bettman.
Come on. Like, we will unfurl the Gary Bettman note-taking scroll we have on things that we would like him to pay attention to. One of the things that Barry Trotz talked about is, like, we want to do this like Washington did. And, you've got your Alex Ovechkin and your Tom Wilsons, and then you've got like your younger players there. Like, I love that we saw a little peek of Ryan Leonard in the postseason for Washington, and they've got some younger players. But there is a gap, it feels like, on the Nashville Predators roster between your veterans like Josi, Forsberg, UC Saros. And I'm not necessarily just talking chronology. I'm not talking age. I'm talking experience and window. There feels like there is a gap between those guys and your Evangelista, Svechkov, LaRue folk. And that concerns me about Nashville really getting into this, we want to be in the now contention conversation, because I don't know that you have enough meat in the middle of that sandwich to do what Washington did.
I think that's totally fair. I think that there was a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of right now, got to do it right now. Oh my gosh, the sands in the hourglass are running out. We need to do it right now. And then all the reinforcements that are supposedly coming are not ready yet. And so it's like, by the time they're ready, your right now guys are going to be gone.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you need to bridge that gap a little bit. You need some more, like, I'll be honest. I mean, I'm not saying you need to go out and get like 10 more of them, but like a Michael Bunting pick, like that pickup I thought was very good for what
Mhm.
this team, like timeline wise, what this team needs. Like
Yes.
late 20s, has experience. Like he's not, a grizzled veteran, but he's not, just finding his sea legs, So I think that, they need guys like that. I mean, similarly, you look at Washington and the guys that they got, like, I don't know. I think that they need more like in between. It's
Mhm.
like the old guard, it's like they're still trying to run it back. And I don't mean run it back like do everything exactly the same, but it's like they got so close with the core group that included Josi and Forsberg and Sissons and Saros, being the backup at the time, but still like it's like they just got so close that they're like, oh, we want to run it back with this group. We got to get it for them. And it's like, you're kind of running out of time a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can still be part of this, but like you're getting to a point where you can't count on them to be your core anymore. Like the core has to be coming behind them. And right now, I don't know who the next core is. I really don't.
Yes. You really are counting on, to go with the sandwich visual, you are counting on the bread to carry the meal. And that is not a criticism of Josi or Forsberg or, these grizzled veterans, Ryan O'Reilly. And that is not a criticism of the Luke Evangelistas and the Fedor Svechkovs. It's that you have to have somebody at their peak. Nashville does not have enough meat at their peak right now. And that's something that I don't know how much Barry Trotz can address in the offseason. Another concern that I have, Emma, is you're talking about bringing up these youth. You have to have a dynamic young guy who is going to come in. They're going to fill a spot. And yes, they're going to develop and they're going to grow, but they need to contribute pretty quickly. And when you look at the Predators pipeline, and again, we've talked about this over the last 10 years, the Predators have averaged the 20th overall pick in the draft. This year, we're the 5th overall, but whoever Nashville drafts 5th overall is not likely to come into Nashville and jump into the lineup and be a contributor in the 2025-26 season, friends. The only one I can think of that could be that guy in this window that we're in is defensively, and I'm thinking about Tanner Molendyk. I think he may be somebody who could come in and could be the contributor, but that's defensively.
Then again, though, like defensemen traditionally take longer to develop than forwards do. Goaltenders take longer than that. So I just think that the last thing you want to do is try to rush that process either. And I'm not saying that Tanner Molendyk's not ready. Maybe he is. I don't know. But I'm just saying that if you determine that he's borderline, keep him in the AHL. Like, keep him in the AHL until you are absolutely sure that he has nothing left to prove. And so, again, it's this chasm now between like the old guard and the new guard, and add on the fact that I'm not entirely sure who the new guard is at this point. And so it's a little like, little interesting.
And you need the young guy who's going to come in and contribute, talking about somebody like a Tanner Molendyk. You need them to be ready to put it out there at the NHL level. Like, it's not a situation like we saw towards the end of the season for the Nashville Predators where, hey, you know what? We're out of bodies. Let's bring somebody up and give them a shot, give them a look. They have to be somebody who's going to pop in and pop off. And I don't know that Nashville has that right now. And you just have to be honest about that. That is not to say the Nashville Predators don't have some really good options in the pipeline, but they're not where Nashville may need them to be to come in and become meat in a sandwich. And that's just what's real. Coming up, we're going to talk about something that may be an X factor in all of this, and it does not have one thing to do with roster construction. Emma and I are wrestling with the existential question. Can the Nashville Predators thread the needle? Is there really a window for Nashville to enter the contention conversation nowish? And I think there are some signs that, as it appears on paper right now in early to mid-June, it does not look great. But here is what I think may be an X factor, Emma, and I'm just going to put this out there. I think coaching could be an X factor in opening or closing the contention conversation now window. Here's what we know. Andrew Brunette is coming back as the head coach. We're trying to figure out who the real Andrew Brunette is. Is the real Andrew Brunette the coach who can take a mishmash of a hockey team and lead them to an 18-game point streak and drag them into the postseason? Or is Andrew Brunette the coach who couldn't quite put it together with a little bit more veteran experience and help the team pop off last season? And not all of any of that falls at his feet, to be clear, but you have to know what you're going to get behind the bench. And I don't know if we know yet what we're going to get behind the bench with Andrew Brunette next season.
Yeah, we don't. And I think that that's a big, like you said, a big part of this too. Just so much uncertainty. I think it's one of those things like chicken and egg sort of things where it's like, okay, well, if you get the coaching figured out, then the rest will fall into place. Or is it you get the roster construction figured out and then the coaching will fall into play? Like, it's hard to know at this point. And you know, the fear of the unknown is the worst kind. And I think that's just kind of where we're at right now, looking at Nashville.
Yeah. Nashville is trying to be Hannah Montana. They are trying, and go with me here, people. They want
the best of both worlds.
They want the best of both worlds. And who doesn't? First of all, who doesn't? But I think you have to be realistic. You know, you can't be the rock star and then change your wig and just be your everyday girl who's going to grow up and have a normal life. Nashville is kind of stuck in this Hannah Montana complex. And I don't think you have to. I mean, I think very clearly Nashville is not at a go all in. Like, let's be clear. But can they make enough progress in this specific time and space with the bones of this roster to get into a contention conversation? I think so many things have to go right for that to happen, including some pieces added in the offseason. It feels a little bit like a wish. I mean, I like a wish as much as the next guy, but sometimes they don't come true, friends.
Duct tape and a dream.
Duct tape and a dream, baby. Duct tape and a dream. Now, Emma, I don't think that Nashville's options are just muscle through this and stick with the plan or tear down and rebuild. And I think we have to be clear about that. I don't think Nashville needs to tear down and rebuild. As a matter of fact, I don't think Nashville can tear down and rebuild. And I think we need to be careful about that. I had a conversation, and we're going to bring him on the show, JD Young, talking about the San Jose Sharks and what a rebuild looks like versus what Barry Trotz is trying to do. I don't think the Nashville Predators just logistically can do what the San Jose Sharks are doing, no matter how much people may want them to.
And also, even the people who want them to, I don't think a lot of them realize that that's more than like a 1 or 2 year process.
Yeah.
You got to endure a lot of years of really bad hockey. And that's fine. Just know that before you go into it. I'm not saying that that should be a reason not to do it. I'm just saying, like, let's be aware of what we're asking for here.
Yeah. It is watching hockey like last season, only with no hope. Now, it was a little bit the hope that killed us last season. But, you know, it is a very different experience. And again, I kind of circle back to Andrew Brunette. Again, not everything falls at his feet, but I do think there are some things that you've got to see from Andrew Brunette if this is going to be successful. I think you have to be a little more intentional, or I don't even know if that's the right word. I think you have to be more mindful as you're developing players. One of the things that we've seen is like bad game, whoop, sit ya. I don't know that that's helpful. I also think we got to talk about the line blender and chemistry. Whether it is veterans, whether it is a line combination of a veteran, a young player, and somebody else, you can't be doing the line blender like we saw at the beginning of next season. So for me, there are some things that I need Andrew Brunette to maybe do a little bit differently if they're serious. If we're really serious about Nashville pushing to see. And here's what I will say. I don't blame Barry Trotz for trying this one more season, because last season was such a cluster. I don't even know. Like, what even was that? So I
Yeah.
get it.
And I think that, like, again, I know that that's everyone's biggest fear, is that they don't want him to try and run it back and, like, let's just change absolutely nothing and run it back and see how it goes. I know that that's not what people want, and they shouldn't, but I do think, like you said, after 2 completely different seasons under Andrew Brunette, we don't know. We don't have a tiebreaker right now. We don't know
Mhm.
which one to believe. So you kind of need to now evaluate after this year.
Yeah.
And I think that, a lot of people are impatient, and I understand it. They want to win, or they want to have a direction. Look, like it or not, Barry Trotz gave this franchise a direction. That he came out and he said it. Now, it did not work. His plan did not work in year 1. In fact, it failed miserably, but
Oh,
that
we saw
that
it.
doesn't mean necessarily that it's, like, completely over for them. I just think that I feel like this year will tell us a lot.
Mhm. Do you think it will take a full season to know?
Um, I don't know, because it's just like there's so many factors at play, and, like, things that can happen in a season. And
Mhm.
again, I don't know. I think even back to, I mean, again, hindsight 2020, but I look back at Andrew Brunette's first season, and it's like, yeah, they overperformed, but they needed a, like, record-breaking, historic, never going to happen again point streak to make it happen. Like,
Mhm.
it's like, that's cool that it happened, but that can't be your recipe for success. And so I think that, we've said this before. I know you've said this before. Like, if this team does not get off to a good start this season, it's I don't
Tough.
know. Few teams need a good start like the Nashville Predators do in
Yeah.
next season.
And even if they get off to a very quick rocky start and Barry Trotz is like, "Hey, I gotta make a coaching change," the new coach is gonna be on a short leash to keep this going. Like, you need more than just the new coach bump, and you're gonna need it pretty quick if you're gonna stay committed to this particular version of the plan, this timeline. So there's a lot riding on the Nashville Predators season next year, including, I don't know, Emma and my sanity. So a lot to be watching for. And a lot of these decisions are going to be kicking off this offseason. Of course, we have the NHL draft coming up. We have free agency. A lot can happen, a lot of rumors swirling about the roster for the Nashville Predators as well. We will be here to cover it all. Emma, before we log off on this Thursday, the greatest day of the week, will you let everyone know where they can find you and your work?
You can find me on social media at Emma_Lingan, and you can find my work at the Hockey News.
You can find me on social media at AnnK_Mama on Ice. You can find my work with Penalty Box Radio as well. You can find the show on social media at LO_Predators. Let us know what you think. Is the window closed Or is there still hope? Let us know either in the comment section of this video or find us over on social media as well. That is going to do it for this episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thanks again so much for making us your first listen of the day. We will be back tomorrow with an all new episode. We'll see you then.